Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second holiday special. This one is an interesting topic. Jody, how you doing? Let the audience know what we're going to be talking about.
Sure. If you're new here, welcome. Gio and I have lost and maintained a combined 140-pound weight loss, and we're here to help guide beginners who want to make sustainable lifestyle changes, especially as they're beginning to navigate through the sometimes challenging holiday season. And specifically, we're going to talk about loved ones this time of year. Sometimes they are a little bit too comfortable saying whatever's on their mind when it comes to your body, your food choices, whether you choose to work out. We're going to cover it all.
Because I got some doozies I can't pass up. So let me open it up before we get into the fitness portion. I was dating a girl years ago, obviously, because now I've been happily married for 14 years. I was living in New York and I was dating this girl, and this is the first time she's meeting my family. She comes for Thanksgiving, and my family is very blunt. My grandmother, though, her English is not that well, right? Because she speaks Spanish, but her mentality is speaking in Spanish. She translates it in her head and then says what she says in English. She tells this girl, where everybody's sitting on the table, she basically said, "You don't have any family? Why are you here?" Hey, look, I know my grandmother, and she didn't mean it the way it sounds. Like she didn't know that if she lived there or she's on vacation or something or her family somewhere else. But this young lady I was dating at the time, held herself together, but then later on was crying.
Oh, no.
So this is why I bring it up, because some of the words, if not said properly, can really affect people. Now, we say it shouldn't affect us, but it potentially can. Words have power. So, that being said, what are some of the things you want people to know about either receiving words during the holidays or actually saying words that can actually.
I think it can be a really individual based situation where tone makes a huge impact,
Hmm.
and your relationship with that family member. I'm sure you get asked 100 times, Gio, how do you get your protein as a
Yes,
plant-based person?
mercy. Yeah.
But there's a big difference between somebody saying, "Oh, you're plant-based? How do you get your protein?" And like
Yeah.
somebody like me going,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're plant-based? What is your favorite ways of getting your protein?" Two
Edamame
very similar
pasta. Yeah,
questions,
I know.
and they're asked completely in different ways, where one sounds judgmental and
Hmm.
judgy is what I like to say,
Yeah.
and one's more like, "Hey, I'm curious because I wanna
Hmm.
learn more from you." They're two completely different things. So, I think knowing that will help.
Hmm.
Also keeping in mind too that sometimes when we choose to do something different than our family members, they take offense to it even though they shouldn't.
Hmm.
Like, they see us moving and making healthier choices while they may not be, but that doesn't mean we're judging them for doing differently than us. It's okay if you draw a boundary,
Hmm.
even if it's a family member. It's
Oh,
okay
especially
to
if it's a
stick up for
family member.
yourself.
Yeah. What you said earlier is so good. If you're seriously curious about a family member that you see has lost a lot of weight or looks bigger and muscular, curiosity is the best way to approach it. Just curious. Hey, what are you doing differently? I've noticed some changes. Don't say, hey, what are you doing differently? I noticed you lost a lot of weight,
Mhm.
because that can have connotations. You may mean it innocently, but what happens if they didn't lose a lot of weight and you just think so? Or what happens if the scale hasn't changed, but their body composition is different, right? So you don't know what they went through. Just ask, hey, I've noticed there's been some changes in your life. Can you tell me more about it? That's how I would approach it. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, and I think if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay to change the subject.
Mm-hmm.
The worst comment I've ever heard from my husband's family, and it's really not that bad, where I'll hear, Jodi, you're getting so skinny. And I just cringe. I cringe when I hear it. And I know somebody might be saying you're getting a compliment, but
Mm-hmm.
skinny doesn't mean healthy. And that was
Yes.
never my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I used to just let it roll off my shoulders, and I haven't heard it in a while, but if I hear it again, I'm going to have to speak up and say, "Oh, I don't consider myself skinny. I consider my health." The reason I would say something is a couple of years ago, after the last time I heard it,
Mm-hmm.
my son said, "Mom, how can I be skinny?" I don't know if he
Yes.
overheard it or
Mm-hmm.
heard it from school, but skinny does not mean healthy, and I don't want him to make that his body
Yeah.
goal.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that there was a young man growing up who kept hearing that he was fat, that he was fat, that he was fat, that he was fat. And he's a young kid. He was like 9, 10, 11 when he was hearing this. That by the time he got 12, 13, he went the opposite, completely the opposite, where he wasn't eating and he was looking like anorexic type skinny, like really deprived of food. That highlights your point. Skinny does not automatically mean healthy. And if you're healthy, you wouldn't call it skinny, right? You would just call it healthy. And so, yes, in that sense, that's so important that we understand the words have powerful. Now, that being said, you mentioned you've heard it in the past, and now if you hear it again, how did they affect you differently? Because you alluded that in the past it may have made you feel one way, whereas now you know how to handle it better. What are those two contrasts and what made the difference?
I can be a bit of a people pleaser, so
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to say anything because I wouldn't want to be looked at as a troublemaker. But when I heard my son make similar
Mm-hmm.
comments, he's about to turn 14. This is a delicate age.
Mm-hmm.
I need him to learn that healthy and strong should be the goal, not skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know he's always watching, always listening, I have to say something. It's not to be mean, not to be
Yeah.
nasty when I respond.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a correction like, "Oh, I don't consider myself skinny. I consider myself healthy and strong."
Mm-hmm. And I like that you bring up your kids are older than I am. Not that I am, than my kids. Even though I'm older than you, I have a 9, a 6, and a 3-year old. I have 3 daughters. And so a father never thinks of he's going to have 3 daughters. Oh, you want a boy and a girl, right? That's the mindset. But now that I have 3 girls, I find myself paying attention more to women like yourself, women like Jonica, Samantha, others in the group, Maggie, who has a daughter herself. And it's so important the projections that I hear others talk about and what I say myself. This morning, while I'm homeschooling my older daughter, she asked me something about working out. The reason I like to work out is because I want to have more muscle so I can have a higher maintenance calories because I enjoy eating. I want to distinguish that between I'm going to work out so I can eat more versus I want to be bigger because I know at rest I have more energy. It's
Mm.
a subtle distinction, but I hope people can pick up on it.
Absolutely. It's a different distinction, and it's important that you
Mm-hmm.
are paying attention to that, especially daughters. I really thought that I was safe from the body image issues and wanting to be skinny and rail thin because I have boys. When I heard that, I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, snap. I'm not safe from that. I have to be really careful about the word choices I make and allow others to make comments about me or them.
Mm-hmm. At this age, your boys are hitting puberty. But prior to puberty, boys and girls are almost the same
Mhm.
mentally. With me as a father of girls, I want them to understand that working out, that taking care of your body is not just a male thing. Because, oh, women got to be dainty and petty and pretty and no, pump some
I'm
iron.
petty.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. Maybe petty is not the word I was looking for then, but it's like dainty, right? And kick some butt, Be able to defend yourself, be able to work out. Now, that being
Absolutely.
said, what do you do if it does bother you? Let's say somebody says something and it does bother you. We can't respond in violence, right? We shouldn't respond meanly. What's the best way to internalize it, deal with it, if it does end up bothering you?
I know by her tone that she means it as a compliment,
Mm-hmm.
but because it's my husband's family, he's responsible too to help me navigate it if it
Mm-hmm.
ever happens again. Hey, last time she said this, but because she said that, I'm worried about our son Alex
Mm-hmm.
making similar comments. Could you chime in? Let's be a team, help change the subject, but also correct it so my son doesn't overhear
Mm-hmm.
skinny as the optimal goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're expecting potential comments that you might not want to hear at a family gathering, if you have somebody with you that you trust, team up together, help
Mm-hmm.
change the subject or squash those comments as gracefully as you can. It's also okay to say, I don't really want to talk about my body. What's new with you? I don't want to talk about this right now, but I want to know, how are things going with your job? Or show me that recipe you were talking about making. Like,
Mm-hmm.
change the subject. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have to change the subject, or if you have to tell them, I don't want to talk about it, that's perfectly fine too.
Hispanic families, because that's what I am, we're so direct sometimes I cringe. One of the things, especially when I was losing weight, that I did here personally was don't lose too much weight. You're going to look unhealthy. In Hispanic families and my families particularly, it's almost like that little plump feeling, but that little full feeling look is what they consider healthy. But when I was that way, I call it now, I guess, skinny fat. I was 35 plus percent body fat. There is no scale or no, what's the word I'm looking for? In no place is that considered optimal health.
Mhm.
Now, I was always a confident person. I knew I was loved. I knew I was cared for. No place is 35% plus body fat considered healthy. But that's the look that my Hispanic family thought I looked healthy in. It looks like you're eating. But I was just looking at pictures of myself, and they happen to be one when I was at my highest weight on iPhone memories, and the other one where I'm now. And you could just see the difference in my face. You have to remember that you are ultimately the judge of your own health. What's going on inside of you, you know in what direction you're going. Obviously, there has to be some factual basis for it. You can't say I'm 35% body fat and I'm healthy as far as clinically described. But don't let anybody put you in a box. Don't let anybody judge where you are, because there are people who are considered overweight who are actually healthier at that moment than somebody who people think is skinnier. Their mindset may have changed and they're going in the right direction, where the quote unquote skinny person or healthy person is going in the wrong direction. Who would you rather be in? Right? In the shoes of somebody
Mhm.
growing towards optimal health. Be careful, especially in Hispanic families, what they mean by don't lose too much weight. It might be a self reflection.
I think that is important to remember. Sometimes you might be judging them because they're doing
Mm-hmm.
something different. And sometimes just saying, you know what, I wasn't feeling my optimal health before, or I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in my own skin and now I feel great. That doesn't mean you look down on them.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol is one of those subjects where family had no
Yeah.
idea that I chose to stop drinking years ago. That does
Mm-hmm.
not mean that I am judging somebody because they choose to drink, unless you are drunk and being disruptive and interrupting
Mm-hmm.
my life. It was a personal choice. I didn't like how it made me physically
Mm-hmm.
feel,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I lost the weight. I half a glass of wine, I would start slurring. It was embarrassing. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I became such a lightweight. It doesn't mean I look down on somebody for
Yeah.
choosing when you're confident enough in your choices,
Yes,
you
that's the
don't
word.
worry about somebody else's life choices being different than yours.
There's a phrase that I like to joke around with. It says, if I wanted your opinion, I'd give it to you. In other words, I'm so confident in who I am. A lot of people are projecting their own guilt upon your healthy choices. Look, I am 100% plant based, and the audience will know that I've never told Jodi, you have to be 100% plant based. I've never
Mhm.
told that to anybody. I make my choices for myself. Now, if you ask me why I'm plant based, I think I would give you arguments that I think makes it better, but I've never made it. But even that, even though I think 100% plant based is what works for me, I would never tell anybody they cannot eat meat from my religious standpoint. The Bible allows for it. So I'm going to tell God what you can and cannot eat. I believe in absolute truth if you keep digging down. But I think those truths that are absolute are a lot smaller than everybody trying to make every subject absolute truth. Not every,
Mhm.
there's gray area. And especially when it comes to diet, to me, the only absolute truth is, are you healthy inside and out? I don't care if all you eat is cheese doodles. If your body keeps that, that's an exaggeration, right? But if all you eat is cheese doodles and you're 100% healthy inside and out, then God bless you. You know what I mean? It's all about your health internally and externally. Go ahead.
No, I think it's true. I remember one of our friends mentioned that she was with family for the first
Oh,
time in
yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
long time since she lost a lot of weight. She was calorie tracking. She wasn't doing an extreme diet, and she
Mm-hmm.
kept hearing, "Oh, keto. My friend does keto." And she's, "I don't do keto." She kept bringing keto up. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
are you trying to tell me I should be doing keto? Are you just assuming I did keto even though I said 10 times I don't do keto?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when people are bringing up, you should try this diet instead, be consistent on your journey. If you feel good eating the diet you're on and
Mm-hmm.
your internal numbers are looking good, just stick to
Mm-hmm.
your plan. Gio and I aren't fans of extreme diets that demonize a
Anything.
macro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we've said it here, even though you use the word diet, this is really a lifestyle for us. Find
Mhm.
what becomes a lifestyle for you. You're not going to live happily on a traditional diet, because what's the implication? When I reach my goal weight, I'm off the diet, right? For Jodi and I, this is a lifestyle. If I wanted to gain weight, I just eat more of what I'm already eating. If I wanted to lose weight, I just eat less of what I'm already eating. I'm not changing into anything fancy. I'm not going into keto. I'm not going into raw. Some people
Mhm.
do raw. This famous lady, I forgot her name. She's a raw lady. All she eats is raw food. And she's in phenomenal shape. But that's for her. That wouldn't work for the
Mhm.
majority of people. Eat what is 100% sustainable for you now in day one, and what could be sustainable for you in day 100. That's for me how I live my life, and I'm sure you live that way as well.
Absolutely. I have a really good friend that they keep following this extreme
Oh,
diet,
yes.
restrictive diet, and they'll say it's clean and, "Oh, look how lean I was when I followed that diet. It really worked." I said, "No, it didn't work." "What do you mean, Jody? It didn't work?" I said, "If it worked, you
Yes.
wouldn't keep falling off of it."
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's gotta work for your life. The person that designed this nutrition plan wasn't a registered dietitian, first of all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Second of all, their whole career is bodybuilding. You are a full-time working parent. You have kids. You have a job. This extreme, it's not going to work for every single
Mm-hmm.
person. If it's not sustainable, where you keep falling off, it's not really working for you.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up keto, and you also said that we're not a big fan of extreme diets. Does keto work? Yes. But why I'm not an advocate of keto is because it's not sustainable. You cannot stay keto for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Rare if somebody told me one time they've been on keto for 2 years. But then when I pressed them, they're on for 6 months, off for 6 months. That's not being on keto for 2 years.
Mhm.
So eat what you can sustain. If I want to gain weight, I just eat more of what I'm already eating. If I want to lose weight, I eat less of what I'm already eating. But I never change my food except on holidays when I'll indulge a little bit. I indulge in more ice cream. Maybe I'll have pizza, plant-based pizza for those listening. I may try different things, but it's basically stuff I eat year round. I just may eat more of it on the holidays. Thoughts on that?
But question for you. Say you are
Mm.
at a family gathering and somebody says, "Hey, Gio, you should really try plant-based keto." How would you respond?
That's a good question. No, I don't have the patience for it. And I enjoy eating the food I already eat, even though it might work because it wouldn't change fundamentally. It's very extreme to go fully keto on plant based. It's just harder. For what I'm doing is working and it's sustainable. And
Yeah.
I'd probably just say that because I've never lacked confidence.
For us, this will be my 7th holiday season. How
Hmm.
many holiday seasons have you?
Since 2020.
This point, it's I've been consistent doing what I've been doing, and we've collectively have lost 140 pounds. Why
Mm-mm.
would I change it
Yes.
to some extreme that would make me feel deprived?
Let me say something to what I eat is 100% sustainable for the rest of my life. Doesn't mean there haven't been changes
Mhm.
within my lifestyle. For example, I used to indulge in more Tostitos and pretzels with my meals. There's nothing wrong with that. I could probably still do that and still be as great shape as I am. The reason I've dropped those off is that I prefer more of the natural food. So it's a preference, not, oh, I can't do that. So, yes, my diet, from looking outward, people will say, oh, you've improved your diet. No, it's that my taste buds have changed, preferring certain things, more whole foods as opposed to processed food. But it's not because, oh, Tostito's bad. No, you're naturally going to change as you grow. I'm pretty sure even though you're in great shape, you're not eating the same way you did 7 years ago when you lost the weight
Mhm.
as you are now. Here's how I know
Yeah.
for sure you're not. You've tried them out of edamame pasta. That's different.
I went the opposite as you. Like,
Okay.
before, I would look at candy and
Hmm.
quote unquote junk food as
Yeah.
bad, so I would avoid it. But then
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
go restrictive and
Hmm.
eventually I would binge. But
Okay. Yeah.
now I know that those foods aren't good or bad. I
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I wasn't having them intentionally. It was always me losing complete control because I over restricted for a period of time.
So now you have control over what you eat as opposed to it controlling you. Even that
Yep,
being said, you've changed, right? You've grown.
absolutely.
How I'm eating today is not going to be the same of how I'm eating 6 years from now, in the standpoint that it's not going to be the same type of food. I'm eating more dates now. Let me tell you a story. I went to Israel in 2019. They have fabulous variety of dates. Because they look like roaches, I never touched them.
They're delicious.
Yeah, because they look like roaches, I never touched them. And I was in Israel, the land of the dates. Now I have dates almost every day, sometimes 400 calories of dates because they're so calorie dense.
It's very easy to do with dates.
Yes, yes. And so I was never a big nut eater. Now I eat a lot of nuts, almonds, walnuts, flaxseed, Brazil nuts. Things change. But what
Mhm.
doesn't change is I'm never going to stop being 100% plant based. People will probably say, you should try some meat. I used to eat meat for 27 years. It's not the taste, it was just health. I have a genetic defect that makes me accumulate cholesterol at a quicker rate than somebody who is normal genes. So that was part of the journey towards plant-based, and now I'm 100% comfortable with it. So find what is sustainable for you and don't let anybody deviate you from it unless you did your own research, came to your own conclusions, and it's sustainable.
Absolutely.
Let me say one last thing before I forget his name, but he wrote a book about carnivore diet and
Mm.
how carnivore is the best thing since sliced bread. He has since gone off the carnivore diet. I'm not saying this to be against meat. I'm saying this to be against an extreme carnivore
Mhm.
diet, which eliminated a whole bunch of vegetables and other things. 100% of those things are not sustainable because even if you eat that way your whole life, probably guarantee you're going to die sooner than you need to. And I'm saying this for plant-based extreme people as well. If all I ate was broccoli all day, I'm going to die sooner than I would have had I eaten holistically across the board.
Mhm.
So, any other
Absolutely.
last comments about something somebody has said to you? I think I have one more brewing.
We have to go into the holiday events with, okay, this loved one.
Mhm.
Try to think of what you think their intention is. Are they concerned that you have an unhealthy relationship with food by choosing to eat healthier? Or do they feel like you potentially judge them for what they're doing differently? Try changing the subject. Try talking to another family member to help you change the subject or tackle those
Mhm.
unsolicited comments. But at the end of the day, if something makes you uncomfortable, it's okay to set a boundary and say, I really don't want to talk about this. There's nothing wrong with sticking up for yourself.
And if you want a little sarcasm, which I'm entitled to with my family, because my family's so blunt that we can be caustic with each other. If I wanted to look like you, I'd eat like you and then just walk away. All joking aside, you understand your family. If you could be direct, if you need to change the subject, we all have that crazy family member. If you don't think you have one, then you're it. But look, holiday seasons overall, I think, is to get closer to your family. If you have an estranged family member, it's an opportunity to reconcile. If you haven't seen your kids in a while, or if your kids at home, it's time to bond with them. The holidays is to stop the riffraff of society and just enjoy your time with your family. And don't let words destroy what the holidays are supposed to be about. Thanksgiving, it's about Thanksgiving. Christmas is about the birth of our Savior. Just enjoy it. Be careful with the sugar, though, but all in moderation.
Absolutely.
Hey, now that I brought up the sugar, I do want to say this. You know how people say, because you live in Pennsylvania, which is cold, right? People say, oh, winter, people get sick a lot. Have you ever stopped to think that it could be Halloween, sugar, Thanksgiving, sugar, December, Christmas, sugar, New Year's, a lot of sugar. Then you got Valentine's Day, sugar, and then Easter, a lot of sugar. Could it be that too much sugar and not just the cold, right? I'm not saying don't enjoy, but be mindful of that here on the Mindful Muscle Podcast.
Absolutely.
All right, close us out on this episode.
All right. You can get through this holiday season. Just keep in mind that their intentions may be good, they may mean well, but again, it's okay to draw a boundary and change the subject. I know that everybody says blood is thicker than water, but sometimes blood is toxic. If you don't need to be around that family member, if they make comments like this all the time, don't let up, it's okay to change your plans too.
Yep. And I'll add if they are truly curious, as Jody said, if they're coming from a curious standpoint, then this is the opportunity to help somebody make the change. We've lost 140 pounds collectively. And all we want to do here on the Mindful Muscle podcast is help you get through the changes you want to make. But it's on you. We're here to help. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. We'll get to them. We're going to do a better job of getting to those comments. Until next time on the Mindful Muscle podcast, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, wherever we're at. God bless you.